Unit 5, Lesson 4. As usual, you're looking for the tasks to complete for U5L4. You can find it under assignments or on the weekly calendar. Today's date is January 12th. We'll start off with our usual pair, share, meet and greet kind of thing. The question for today is, if you had 25 hours a day, how would you use the extra time? How would you use that extra hour if you got an extra hour? Think about that for 20 seconds. Points for creativity. And don't forget to say hi and check in with the person you're in the room with too. We'll come back together in 2 minutes. Rooms are open. It's looking good. Just had to make sure that you completed the classwork from our previous lesson. And also we had the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Actually, though, sorry, before I wanted to get into that, I wanted to show you some articles just about COVID in the news. This is something I do with my disease and public health students in the elective I teach for that. But there's 2 links right there. First is to Our World in Data, looking at the global coronavirus situation currently. As you can see on this graph, numbers are spiking, and especially in the United Kingdom right now has actually overtaken the United States in terms of cases per million people. But UK and US are definitely the highest by far. Next is Germany and Canada, much, much lower. As you guys probably know, if you've been watching the news, the UK is also dealing with a new strain of the coronavirus, which is not necessarily more lethal, but it is more contagious and spreads a little faster, hence numbers are climbing. That has also shown up now in the United States. I think they've reported it in 9 states so far. This is a good article from Reuters just about the Center for Disease Control saying that 9 million Americans have been vaccinated. Unfortunately, that only represents about 1/3 of the available vaccines though. So a lot of these vaccines are just sitting in refrigerators at hospitals and haven't been rolled out to the public yet. So it's going a little slowly, both for the Moderna and for the Pfizer vaccines. And so hopefully we'll find ways to get this to roll out faster. There's some interesting stuff about how they're gonna enlist vets and veterinarians too, where you could potentially just go get your COVID shot there while you're dropping off your pet or something like that. And again, if you've been following the news, if any of you are in Southern California right now, you got to be careful. Numbers are really getting out of control down in Southern California. And so they're trying to do their best to slow things down. As you know, the lockdown has been, or stay-at-home measures have been extended indefinitely now. So feel free to read through those on your own time if you want. We are going to be learning a lot about the vaccine today, and that's what the homework was. Homework's looking great. I'm seeing 9 attempts and pretty much 100% on every question. I know some of it got a little complicated, but you're going to watch 2 little ed puzzles today that I hope will help clarify and explain some of this too. I think it's pretty fascinating how these vaccines work. But any questions or comments on the COVID in the news or the homework? Does any of you know anyone, like family members who are working in healthcare on the front line or anything, who have gotten the vaccine? 1, 2, that's it? 3, okay. Yeah, I've got, I have an uncle and an aunt who are both doctors working at Santa Cruz. They've gotten the vaccine. We have a couple friends who are all in the medical world who have gotten the first round of injections. Haven't gotten the second one yet. So, you feel it encroaching, right? Like the more people around you get it, and then eventually, hopefully it will come down to us as well. Though it's going to be interesting with younger people like you. That's going to be something we're going to discuss. But okay, so on the tasks to complete list then, you're going to go ahead and click on step number 4, COVID-19 vaccines. There's a link right there to the COVID-19 vaccine ed puzzles. There's 2 ed puzzles. First one's about 10 minutes long with 6 questions. The second one is just shy of 7 minutes long with 4 questions. The first one's all about the Pfizer vaccine. The second one is comparing the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines, and you'll see they're pretty similar and different in some convenient ways. But I'm going to go ahead and time for 20 minutes to work through this, but I'll keep an eye on Edpuzzle, and once it looks like most of you are done, we'll come back together. So as usual, there's an alternative Google form to do if Edpuzzle freezes. Let me know if you need help. 20 minutes to work on the 2 Edpuzzles. Attacks. And so having antibodies ready is what gives you immunity. And so um, this virus, it's an RNA virus, and like all viruses, basically what COVID-19 does is gets into your cells, takes them over, and forces them to make more of the virus until the cell explodes and spreads it even further, right? So that's what it's all about, is just forcing your cell to make even more viral proteins. And so this, you just need to stop the virus from infecting cells. And so what's cool is that the way this vaccine works is it forces your own body cells to make a viral protein that's not harmful. It's just what they call immunogenic, meaning that your body recognizes this as a foreign invader and has an immune response, but you're not going to have any symptoms. The virus itself is not actually in you. It's more just that they've convinced you, tricked your cells into making a component of the virus, and then your immune system responds to that. So pretty cool that it is. I think the official number now is like 94%, 95% effective, which is crazy. Most flu vaccines that come out every year are like less than 50%, sometimes 40% effective. So this is nuts in terms of how effective it is. The main thing is that the problem is that, and they still don't know this. So, and I gave this to my disease public health students about a month ago, probably maybe longer. And there's still no conclusive evidence as to whether this vaccine just prevents the symptoms in you, meaning that you don't actually get sick, but you still have the disease, you still get COVID, you're just asymptomatic, or if it sterilizes you, meaning that you don't even get the vaccine, you don't even get the virus. And that's important because then it means you can't spread it. And so that's going to be a key thing, that if these vaccines prevent the spreading, then they're going to be really effective. If they don't, then it's going to take a little while longer. And so we'll kind of review the pros and cons in a bit. The next one was kind of almost review, but just looking at Moderna. Moderna works exactly the same way, pretty much. They refer a lot to peer-reviewed papers because that's where researchers read. So it's kind of more backed up. I like the emphasis on these studies of populations that are very diverse, and that's important because this is a vaccine that is going to be rolled out globally. And so there can't be any bias in terms of the testing populations, right? They got to take pretty much every age, race, sex, and other factors into account, pre-existing conditions, that kind of thing. So yeah, and Moderna was a little weird that they still did have some cases, even though people were vaccinated, but they weren't severe. And so that's still encouraging news. And the Moderna vaccine is now widely available as well. And again, they still don't know, even with Moderna or Pfizer, which one, whether it sterilizes you or just prevents the symptoms. And again, it's going to be an important distinction to make. So pros and cons. What were some pros of the Pfizer vaccine? That's something somebody could share. What was a good thing about that?
I guess like in the US, it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, so they're going to cover costs entirely. It is entirely free, much like a flu shot or something like that. So, so that's definitely going to allow for availability. I would definitely say, as I mentioned earlier, the effectiveness, right? 95% effective is pretty crazy. What I should have done too is brought up a couple of the articles that have come out recently about, they have been reporting some people having allergic reactions to the vaccine. However, all of those cases, they've been very rare, and they've been in people who have had allergic reactions to vaccines before. So it's not unusual. But I think the news kind of harps on that a lot. So what about Moderna? What was kind of, there's one key thing about the Moderna vaccine and advantage that it had over Pfizer. Anyone catch on to that? Go ahead, Molly.
One thing was it was more effective, right? It was 94.5%.
Yeah, they like one up the Pfizer people. They're like, oh, we're going to be 1% higher on your effectiveness. Yes, that was pretty good. There's something else big though in terms of availability that you might have caught on to or might not. Let's think about then a con first. So what was one sort of thing that wasn't so good about the Pfizer vaccine? Might make availability kind of tricky. Wouldn't be able to like roll it out in a small African village. Jillian?
It can only be stored in 25 degrees Fahrenheit for I think 5 days, was it?
Yeah, so it's an RNA vaccine. RNA is super fragile, has to be kept really, really cold, or else literally once you warm it up, the clock starts and you've got, yeah, I think you've got 4 or 5 hours before it's totally useless. And so that's going to be challenging for getting it out to rural communities where they don't have these refrigerators that can achieve those temperatures. That's really, really cold. However, there is actually some encouraging news there because they have these portable fridges that use dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide, which is really, really cold. They use that for treating Ebola. The Ebola vaccine that they used in the Congo was very similar, had to be kept cold, and yet they were able to very effectively use it and basically wipe out the most recent epidemic of that. So, but what about Moderna? Did Moderna need to be kept at such cold temperatures? It doesn't. And I'm not entirely sure of the design difference, but it lasts a lot longer at just regular refrigerator temperatures, right? So there's a lot more hospitals that will have access to that vaccine, most likely compared to Pfizer. So I don't know what's going to become widely available in different places, but it seems like they both have pretty good advantages. So, all right, so let's do a quick little poll on the tasks to complete. And I see a few people have done this, but go ahead and click on the COVID-19 vaccine poll. So anonymous COVID-19 vaccine poll, just to get your feedback on how you feel about the vaccine rollout, how it's going so far, and who you think should be prioritized. So I'll time for 3 minutes. Work on that. It's the last dot underneath step number 4 on the tasks to complete list. Anonymous COVID-19 vaccine poll. Go for it. All right, first of all, in terms of, aside from frontline medical hospital workers, who do you think should be next in line? Looks like most of you went with your parents or grandparents, so the older generations. Few of you people went with teachers, thank you very much, and government leaders and politicians. All right, yeah, I mean, that does seem to be who this vaccine is rolling out to the most. It's been interesting with education and teachers because they're finding that COVID spreads quite quickly when you're talking. That seems to be one of the main things, that talking and shouting and singing seem to be the main areas that you're actually releasing these droplets. And so they're finding that within a classroom space, the teacher is far more likely to spread it to students than it is to spread from student to student or student back to teacher because they're just not doing as much talking. And so they're saying that, in terms of the rungs of who should be vaccinated when you're looking at schools reopening, it's the people who are going to be doing the most talking, teachers, that kind of thing. But anyway, we'll see how that rolls out. In terms of who would take it, so it looks like most of you would take either one. A few of you don't. One person doesn't trust these, and 2 people are interested in Pfizer. So yeah, again, it's really interesting to see because this is kind of an ongoing study. They've been doing it so fast that they are waiting to see the results. And like I said, they don't know if it actually sterilizes you or if it just prevents the symptoms. They literally don't have enough data yet to have a clear conclusion on that. And also, they haven't done any thorough studies yet on younger people like you. So what it's going to be like to vaccinate teenagers. Anyway, I think it should be fine, but it's just going to take, unfortunately, more time before they know more about that. So questions or comments on that? I just think it's really cool that we have this designed RNA that has been man-made now, taking advantage of the way the human immune system works. It really does show how science is kind of giving us a leg up against some of these diseases, and we just got to roll it out fast enough now. Okay, next on the task then was just more time for project work. Again, I keep eating up most of the class time, but this will roll into homework, and I promise I will start dedicating more class time to this. There are no really hard deadlines. As you're probably seeing, the assignments relating to the project aren't graded. It's just more just making sure you're kind of keeping up. But what I want to draw your attention to was you should at this point hopefully have been able to open up Canva and at least gotten started on your cover and contents pages. If not, then that's where you need to start. The assignment on Canvas has some guidelines. So here is guidelines on what you should have on your cover. And I came up with a couple fun titles that you could consider. So like Rewiring Your Brain, How Drug Addiction Works, or Shaken and Rattled, Brain Damage Caused by Concussions. So come up with a somewhat creative title that still does state your chosen disorder and maybe one of the organ systems that it relates to. And then the contents page, again, is just you trying to predict how you think you're going to break up your topic. So for example, I had concussions here. First page would be how the brain's protected inside the skull. Second content page would be how concussions damage the brain. Third one would be the long-term effect of the microconcussions. Fourth page would be modern protective gear and how effective it is at preventing concussions. And again, I might not necessarily follow that framework, but it's just a way to start thinking about, well, then what do I want to research? How do I want to do this? You're welcome to change things, rearrange stuff. Again, this is all drafts. The next thing to work on then is a references page. And so once again, this will be the last page. You don't have to have this fully filled in yet. I just want you to get started on it. All you have to do is type references at the top, and always make sure this is the last page on your sort of magazine document on Canva. I have links to a couple general websites that I think might be helpful. So Get Body Smart, Khan Academy, Britannica, the CDC, and MSD Manual all have really good human anatomy and physiology and disease and conditions pages. And so I recommend, hop onto these websites and go look up your topic and see what they've got. Some might have more than others, but I guarantee you for things like concussions and Alzheimer's and trying to think what other topics have been chosen. Drug addiction, bone and joint injuries. If you look up specific names of those, you'll find stuff. Sickle cell anemia. So encourage you to check that out. But again, I think that unfortunately is going to have to roll into homework. We are done at 3 o'clock. Questions or comments on Canvas stuff? Julia?
For last night's or the cover page and
contents
page, there was nowhere to submit it on Canvas.
Oh, did I not have a should have been file upload on the assignment.
There was a text box.
There wasn't a text box? Okay, shoot. Okay, I will go fix that. Sorry. So yeah, all I need is just the link to it. So I'll go update that so you have somewhere to submit it. Though honestly, also if I should have the same setup on the references page. You should be able to submit that, but I'll make sure that I've got, it should have like a link post to that. So sorry about that. I will go check those assignments and fix that. Okay. Otherwise, homework is going to be a short reading in Hewitt, or in Hall, sorry, chapter 3.2 about the integumentary system. Since we have MLK Day coming up, I wanted to touch a little bit on human skin. And it's going to lead us into what's called the biology of human skin color, which some of you might remember from doing biology way back when, but I thought that'd be appropriate to do around the MLK Day weekend. But that's it. So homework is just that short little reading. There's no notes or anything. It's just a quiz. And just make sure you're chipping away at your cover, contents, and references pages for the project. So, all right. Thanks a lot, kids. Great seeing you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Bye.